All right, good evening. I am calling the Monday, January 4th, 2021 Parks and Natural Resources Commission to order tonight at 6:30 p.m. Tonight's meeting will be held virtually using Zoom, as you can see here. And as the chair, I'll be leading us through the commission meeting tonight, and the public is welcome to participate when invited throughout the meeting. Members of the public may attend the meeting via online Zoom, and if attendees experience audio problems, we suggest that you leave the meeting and then rejoin. This has usually fixed the issue. Additional instructions on how to participate are posted online at burnsvillemn.gov in the public meeting calendar. As usual, tonight's meeting is available for viewing as well on BCTV and on the city's website. If you're unable to participate this evening and would like to submit public testimony, I encourage you to email your comments to city staff or mail your comments directly to City Hall. You may also participate in the meeting tonight online by going to zoom.us/join, and the meeting ID is 979-2863-5803. And you may also call into the meeting at 651-372-8299. And for each public hearing, I will open up a time when callers may speak to that item and will give more instructions at that moment in time. Your call will be muted until that time comes. Please note that there might be a slight delay due to the differences in technology if we do unmute you. So if you're speaking by phone, please mute your computer, since there may also be that delay and we don't want that feedback coming through. So now done with the boring transition stuff. So we're going to move on to the agenda. So the first item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the agenda. Do any of the commissioners have any changes to the agenda? All right, hearing none. Staff, do you have any changes?
Nothing from staff.
All right, thanks, JJ.
I move we approve.
I second.
All right, thank you so much. So staff, I believe we can do a roll call for this, JJ.
We will. Commissioner Angara,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Cleveland. Aye. Commissioner Donaldson,
Aye.
Commissioner Fichette. Commissioner Muhlenberg.
Aye.
And Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Commissioner Woolman.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and the agenda passes. Now on to the minutes from the November 16th meeting that we had, and the minutes were provided in the agenda tonight. Do anybody have any changes to the minutes? All right, hearing none. Staff, any changes to the minutes?
Nothing from staff.
All right, motion to approve.
I motion for approval.
All right, thanks, Dina.
Second.
All right, thank you. So staff, I believe we can do a roll call on this as well.
Do it again. Commissioner Angara,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Cleveland. Aye. Commissioner Donaldson. Commissioner Donaldson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fichette.
Aye.
Commissioner Muhlenberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Commissioner Woolman.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and those minutes approve as well. So next we're going to move on to citizen comments. So if there's any members of the public on our Zoom meeting tonight who wish to speak, please let us know. All right, it doesn't look like there's any. Hopefully we're not moving on too fast. I think the pauses during online meetings are always the worst when people are trying to use technology. So give everybody just a minute. So next, are there any telephone callers that wish to speak at this time? You can press *6 to unmute yourselves. All right, I don't hear any members of the public tonight. Hopefully I haven't moved too quickly, but if you do have something to add in, please let us know. All right, and with that, we're gonna move to our first agenda item, which is approving of the 2021 Parks and Natural Resources Work Plan.
Good evening, Commissioners. So as you all are aware, every year in December, we get together for a non-televised work session to review and discuss a work plan for the upcoming year. And we did that back on December 7th. Unfortunately, because of the way 2020 went, a number of items were just moved forward because we did not get to them because of the inability to have meetings early on. But we also came up with some new items that we'll be looking at in 2021. And then also with that, we've got a number of items that are our annual activities. So next slide, please. So we've got 7 items that we take a look at every year. We review the capital improvement plan, and we'll do that later tonight. We review the deer management plan. We are the citizen panel for public input on the stormwater pollution prevention program. We also look for a update regarding the state of our lakes and our city's stormwater pollution prevention program every year. Next slide. We have our sustainability manager come before us and present the progress that we've made every year, provide us that dashboard report on sustainability in Burnsville. And then we review our annual work plan with our city council. We'll be doing that in February every year. And we ask them for their support in moving forward with it. And we ask for their input as well on if they have any items that they would like to see us take a deeper dive or a better look at. And then I believe last year, Commissioners, you added our 7th item to that list, and that is that we will pursue options to promote and support Burnsville Parks in the event of new programs or new amenities opening up, much like the pickleball courts at Red Oak. I think we'll be back at Red Oak again this spring or summer if we're allowed to gather, and we'll be taking a look at the all-inclusive playground that opened up this year. So those are the 7 items that you on an annual basis take a look at. It doesn't change. But here, the next slide, please. Here are the special projects. These are the things that we do want to take a look at not regularly, but we take a look at. Some of them are projects that our Parks Department is working on. Some of them are just updates on things that are happening in Burnsville or in Dakota County or around the community. And so with that, a couple things that are moved forward from last year is the review of the final design on the Lake Marion Trail South segment. Review the concept plans for a nature play area over at Loch Levant. We're going to take a look at, again, an update on the accomplishments from the Park Master Plan, the frameworks plan update, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we start talking about the Parks CIP tonight. Another thing carried forward from last year was an update on the Minnesota River Bridge bike and pedestrian crossing, an update on the County Road 42 County Road 42 corridor and medical district. And then one of the things we did not get to as much as we tried was an update on the Emerald Ash Borer program as well. Next slide, please. Again, another carry forward is an update on the Minnesota River pollution prevention programs. An update on bats in Burnsville and their impact on our parks and natural resources. Now we get to the new things. These are the things that we laid out in our December meeting. You will be involved you'll be an active participant in the development of the Natural Resources Management Plan. I know first quarter 2021, Caleb Ashling is going to be putting out the RFP or the RFQ to get the master plan written so we can choose a contractor to do that work. So we'll have a full year of engagement when it comes to the natural resources management plan. You also talked about developing or looking at ways to develop a backyard composting program. You asked for an update on the importance of predator birds in Burnsville. And you asked for an update on chronic wasting disease in Burnsville. And those are things that, those are the items that I've added to the list of our special projects. There are a couple other items that we'll take a look at here in just a minute, but commissioners, I want to remind you, that's a pretty big list. It looks like a very busy 2021 if we are able to get to all of those items. So that's, I think that's a lot of work and a very ambitious list. And we'll see what we can do in tackling those items. Next slide, please. So there were a couple other things that were discussed. One of them was the invasive species management plan and the development of training materials for staff and the public, and the master water steward program. When I talked with our natural resources folks, we talked about each of those items having a section in the natural resources management plan. So we'll hear more about those, and they will be part of the bigger natural resources management plan. As I thought that was the direction it was going to go in December when we were talking about it, but as I talked with both Caleb and Daryl, they believe that that would be the best place to have that discussion on those items. Next slide, please. So with that, commissioners, that is the work plan that you have put forward. And if you have any questions or comments, now would be the time.
Are there any questions from any of the commissioners tonight?
I did notice that one of the classes offered through community ed is actually a backyard composting class. So that might be a nice person to tap into for resources if we developed our own special Burnsville encouragement of composting.
Commissioner Woolman, I like that idea. As we work with our school district and districts and our community ed departments, we try not to duplicate efforts. Maybe that's something that we can have them come in and present to us on the success, and maybe we can help them find ways to promote that throughout the rest of the year.
That's a great idea. We could also add that into a potential future educational experience before the May pollinator plant sale. I totally blanked on the name of it. It's terrible.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Commissioner Woolman.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But that might be something that'd be nice to work in as like a panel conversation or something to also help educate the city as well.
Any other questions tonight? All right, I believe we're looking for approval of this work plan tonight. And as such,
We approve the work plan.
all right, thanks, Commissioner Donaldson. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. And I believe we can do a roll call for this as well, staff.
Commissioner Angara.
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold.
You should go.
Aye.
Commissioner Cleveland.
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fitchett.
Aye.
Commissioner Muhlenberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
And Commissioner Woolman.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So with that, the motion passes and we'll move on to our next agenda topic, which is the Parks CIP plan for 2021.
Commissioners, before I jump into that, I had one more bullet point on our annual work plan. And that is that I have right now, I have that on the city council agenda for February 2nd. So barring or after the election tonight, we will have a chair who will ask to present that work plan to council on their February 2nd meeting. So. All right, on to the capital improvement work plan. So this is an item, commissioners, that we take a look at every year. We have in our CIP, our Parks CIP, 5 categories, and I've given you 3 of those areas, I believe, in the background. Excuse me for a second as I get to that background report. Here we go. 3 of those areas in the background. And that is primarily because that is the area that Garrett Beck, our Parks and Facilities Director, myself, and our Park Assistant Public Works Director have the most control over. The bituminous surfaces and the technology, while they are part of the Parks CIP, the funding is kind of just a little bit different, and we may not get as much of a say in what projects are going to be happening in any given year. So I want to focus on the projects that we really have the control over. You'll also note that in the background, you were given a 5-year snapshot. We are going to talk about 2021, and there's going to already be changes in the funding and some of these items that we have identified funding for in 2021, and those are going to be pushed out. I will cover those as we go through the capital improvement plan. And then I just, as you look at that attachment that was part of the work plan, I just want to point out that while there may be dollars attached to a specific line item, it's a holding place at this point. It's just a holder to make sure that we take a look at whatever that item is in that year. So there's not a guarantee that if you're looking out at 2025 and it talks about replacing boards on a hockey rink, that may not happen in that year. There may be something that's either more important to be funded, or the rink itself may have held up and we may not have a need to complete that at that time. So as we look forward, next slide, please. As I said, there are 5 categories. There are renovations, bituminous surfaces, park improvements, technology security, and trail development. The 2 I have as asterisks, again, those are areas that we have less of a handle on, less of a hand in developing, but I want to talk about those as well. Next slide. So for 2021, under the renovation category, we always set aside money for general renovations. You never know what may happen in a park, what pieces of equipment may not make it through the winter, what might be the victim of vandalization or other things. And so we always set aside some money for just things that happen. Next item is borders. These are the concrete barriers, either around our volleyball play areas or around a playground. We've set $40,000 aside. Specifically, that's for Colonial Park this year. The fencing item, you can see there's already an asterisk by that one. We have to, there's a couple projects this year that need to get done that were slightly underfunded. One of them is the tennis court resurfacing. That would be at Neal and Terrace Oaks. So it's going to cost more than the $100,000 that's identified on this slide. So we're going to take the fencing money and move it into that category. Same thing with the lighting systems for $76,000. We're going to move that into another area because that's where the need is. When we talk about hockey rinks, again, the replacement of boards around rink, we haven't yet identified which rink that might have that replacement, but in our CIP, we identify that we need to replace rinks every year moving forward. just because of the age and wear that those boards have. The play equipment is also for Colonial Park. So we are replacing the play structure that's at Colonial Park. The resurfacing of park trails for $145,000. All of that money was moved to 2023. Again, that freed up the ability to spend the money this year on tennis courts and backing up to the Nicollet Commons Park water features that we're putting in down there. Structures and buildings, we have $90,000 set aside in that category. $35,000 of that will go towards the potential removal of the Lake Allemagnet Center for the Arts building. We have $30,000 set aside for the replacement and repair of the concrete pads around our warming house structures or warming house buildings right now. And there's $25,000 set aside for a park study at Crystal Lake Beach and Crystal Lake Beach, Kelleher, and Cliff Fen. And as I mentioned earlier, that tennis court resurfacing is already underfunded right there. So that's where some of this money will be reallocated to. That $15,000 for bleachers is not identified a specific park yet, but we have to see if it's needed in that category or if we can reschedule that for another area. And then the frameworks plan, we've got $34,000 set aside for that. $14,000 of that will be for prairie restoration. We've started that project this year with our reduction in mowing, but we'll go back in 2021 and plant seeds to restore those prairie areas in parks. And I believe that Garrett laid that out for you last year at this time in the frameworks plan that he went through with you back in February, I believe it was. Unfortunately, I was unable to get the slide uploaded, but I believe there was an article in the January 1st Sun Current regarding the prairie restoration projects, and Caleb is in there talking about the work that will be done this year. So I will forward that on later tonight. Again, people, some of this money it's a moving target still at this point. We've identified placeholders for it, but if it's needed in a more important area, that money will be redirected towards a more important or a program or a project that's been identified as more important for right now. Next slide, please. And again, next slide. Concrete and bituminous surfaces, $768,000. This money is for the replacement of existing trails and parking lots, concrete systems in the parks. What we are trying to do with this money is we are trying to bundle it into any 1 year or every other year. So this money is going to be moved forward to 2023. Currently, there are no significant projects identified in this category for this coming year. Next slide. Park improvements. So again, we have $20,000 for basic park amenities. This allows us some flexibility in the things that we are doing, and also to evaluate things that are new to us or things that may come up. Oftentimes, a community group will have an idea for an improvement to a park, and we're able to assist with some matching funds. This is where that money comes from. You'll see that the Crystal Lake Beach play equipment has an asterisk by it. We are going to do the study that I talked about in the renovations area. The Crystal Lake Beach will be part of that. It's a bit of it's a nice playground area right now, but that's such a great park, and we think we can do something a little bit more creative down there. So part of the study will be to figure out what type of equipment would be best at Crystal Lake Beach. And so we're going to push that money out a year so that we can complete the study and really put equipment into that park that we know people will use and love. And then there's $50,000 set aside for a remodeling of the interior of the of the Terrace Oaks West building. For years and years, that building was the ski chalet, is the ski chalet. We used to rent skis, cross-country skis out every winter to folks just wanting to come down and go for a ski. We used to offer lessons. When that equipment got old and deteriorated, we didn't replace it. As part of the plan was to not replace that equipment, and people are on their own to ski there as they would like. That building is such a great building, and we know that we can maximize the number of family gatherings there if we remodel that interior to be something more like Neal Park, where families can gather inside and outside on a beautiful summer day. Family reunions, pictures, things like that can take place down there at that park. So we're going to look to remodel that and make that a more friendly, usable space for folks looking to rent our park buildings. Next slide. Again, technology and security. This whole category is an area that, all right, we rely on our IT department to help us out in. A couple of things, we'll be updating the security at both Neal Park and Terrace Oaks. There's a number of, as you all know, there are a number of things that happened in parks and not all of them good. So we'll be adding some security cameras to Neal Park and Terrace Oaks. Each year we set aside $60,000 to help bring fiber into the parks and another $30,000 for endpoints so that we can create those hotspots, or in the case of Loch Levant softball fields, we can create a situation where we can bring in our computers so that we have a concession stand and we can operate things remotely from there. And that's the purpose behind those $60,000 and $30,000. There is not a project earmarked for 2021, I don't believe, but our IT department takes a look at projects that are happening in the community. And so if a group is digging up the boulevard, that's where we try to jump in or piggyback on a project so as to be more cost beneficial for bringing fiber into the parks. Next slide, please. For our trail development, our trail system development, we have $400,000 set aside for Crystal Lake West. Right now in that area, we've got a trail that runs from the park on the frontage road down in through the woods and out by the Crystal Lake boat launch. There will be some work done there to help create a complete walking loop and in that area and in that park. So it'll be a great loop. I'm hoping that this is one of the items that you'll receive more information on later this spring as we move forward with that project, at least an overview to show where the loop will be and what that will look like in that park. And we'll hopefully have more conversation about this later this spring, early summer, but it should be a great project for that area. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, hopefully that's another item we'll be reviewing again later this year. And again, I think the Loch Levant Nature Play Area has now been on our list for 2 years. That's a project that we just haven't got up off the ground yet. We had such great success with the Nature Play Area at Terrace Oaks East that we want to duplicate that on the south end of town over at Loch Levant. So hopefully we're able to get that project up and running this year. Next slide, please. So commissioners, with that is the Parks CIP for 2020, 2021. And again, please know that some of these dollars are still moving targets, or some of the projects are still moving targets. The dollars, I guess, don't change, but the projects might. But as I ran through those projects rather quickly, if you have any questions or comments, now's the time.
Any questions from any commissioners this evening?
I'm curious, is there anywhere currently in Burnsville to rent snowshoes or cross-country skis?
Commissioner Woolman, to my knowledge, there is not.
And is that something that has been a loss to the community when that ski chalet was closed, or was there not a lot of use for that?
Again, Commissioner, we had on a regular daily basis, there was not a lot of use happening. And we treated it like one of our outdoor warming houses for ice skating. It was staffed from 3 o'clock until 6 or 7 at night. And then, I mean, obviously in the winter, it gets pretty dark. So it was staffed for a few hours a day, every day. And then weekends, it was staffed from 10 a.m. until 5. And there just wasn't a lot of daily use. We did offer some ski lessons for youth that were pretty popular, but it certainly did not justify the purchase or the expenditure of new equipment to that level that we had before. And the closing of the ski chalet also came, I'm gonna say 2009, with a bit of a budget challenge year that the city was having. And so it was just it was a simple thing to reduce or do away with at the time. And it just hasn't had the support to bring that back.
Thank you.
I guess to continue that, is there quite a few different spots to rent for those larger family gatherings? Like, I guess, are those spaces utilized to their full extent? Is it worth putting in or doing that 50,000 renovation? Is there enough of demand?
Commissioner Muhlenberg, we believe there is. Neal Park is our largest building at this point. And we completed some renovations to that building just a few years ago. We are booked, or minus the COVID, we have been booked solid every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for the past couple years now. And there are other buildings. Vista View is another one that is used quite a bit, as well as Terrace Oaks. It still gets its use, but it could be a heck of a lot nicer for our guests. Commissioners, if there are no other questions, I guess I'm looking for a motion in support of our park staff moving forward with the capital improvement plan that was presented.
I move we support the CIP.
I second.
All right, thank you. And I believe we can do a roll call then, staff?
Commissioner Angara.
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold.
Aye.
Commissioner Cleveland.
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fitchett.
Aye.
Commissioner Muhlenberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
And Commissioner Woolman.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, JJ. And that particular motion or item passes. And I believe we're moving on to our last item on the agenda, which is the election of the chair and vice chair. So, JJ, do you mind completing this particular election process?
Thank you, Chairman Newman. So, commissioners, in the background, it was asked if prior to the meeting, if anybody had an interest or anybody wanted to nominate another commissioner, to reach out to me. At this point, I have heard from our current chair who expressed an interest in serving as a chair for a second year. I haven't heard from anyone else on any interest. I would be more than happy to hear from folks now if there might be somebody interested in serving as vice chair.
I'm okay staying vice chair unless someone else has interest.
That was my exact email to JJ earlier.
I move we vote to elect our chair as Jenny and our vice chair as Shannon.
I'll second that.
All right, JJ, I think we need a roll call on this one too, right?
Certainly do. You sped ahead of me, Gary.
Oh, sorry.
Appreciate that. No, thank you for doing so, for doing that. Commissioner Angara,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Cleveland,
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson,
Aye.
Commissioner Fitchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Muhlenberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Newman,
Aye.
Commissioner Woolman.
Aye.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you. And next, JJ, do you have any additional updates for this evening?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Newman. There are no additional updates, but other than a reminder that we meet on February 1st as our next meeting. Hopefully at that time, we'll have the Emerald Ash Borer presentation. Hopefully we can connect with Dave Gromish, our forester, and have him present at that time. And then again, as a reminder, right now we've got a placeholder for February 2nd with City Council for Chair Newman to present our 2021 work plan. So you are all welcome to attend that meeting as well. I believe it will be a virtual meeting. So you're all welcome to tune in and support Jenny and our commission.
Awesome. So if there's no further updates, I believe we can look for adjournment.
A motion, we adjourn.
I second.
All right, thank you. And I think we have to do a roll call for this one too, JJ. Just in
I
case
believe
you
we do.
think of asking for people's names.
Commissioner Angara,
Aye.
Commissioner Arnold,
Aye.
Commissioner Cleveland,
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson,
Aye.
Commissioner Fitchett,
Aye.
Commissioner Muhlenberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman
Aye.
and Commissioner Woolman.
Aye.
All
Thank
right, motion to adjourn passes. So with that, have a good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year, and we'll see you all in February. Night.
Thank you all very much.
Happy New Year to you
Happy New
too.
Year.
Night.